and it was one of the officers that told me that there had been casualties. At that point, we didn't know how many, and we still actually are trying to ascertain the whole truth about how many and who.
We understand from Turkish media 9 dead, 8 of them lived in Turkey, one of them a U.S. citizen. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that is the latest information that I have. We're still following up on it to verify, but that is the latest information that I have. And, it's worthwhile to say, because I know Israel's spin machine is working, and they're trying to say that we were violent and the casualties were all our fault, but a few things. One, they were the initial aggressors. 2, they didn't have to attack because they knew we constituted no threat to them whatsoever. We kept repeating that. We told them we were unarmed civilians. We told them that we'd been checked at the ports that we departed from. And we told them also that we would be willing to submit to additional checks by a neutral body, whether it be the UN or the ICRC. We weren't hiding anything at all. And therefore, there was absolutely no justification in using this kind of violence against us. I mean, they sent out armed commandos to attack unarmed ships carrying only aid headed for the Gaza Strip.
And Huwaida, the issue of how they have treated the Israeli citizens that were on the boats, apparently in an even harsher way than they have with the international folks that were on the boat. Do you have any information on that?
Yes. Well, I know that they did try to move to prosecute 4 of the Palestinians with Israeli citizenships. One of them, a young lady, Lubna, who is an organizer with the Free Gaza Movement. They stuck some charges against them, use of violence and other things. But I think either they recognized that eventually these charges would not hold, the same way that they tried to say that we had weapons on our boats, and later they retreated from these claims because there were no weapons on our boats. The same thing charging these 4 with using violence would not have held. And at the same time, there was a sense of solidarity amongst all of the people that were engaged in this mission, and therefore the people that were detained and knew about the charges being pressed against these 4 refused to leave the country until these 4 were released. Yesterday, actually, there was a big demonstration at the airport, mainly the Turkish activists that refused to get on planes until they found out that the Palestinian citizens of Israel had been released, and they were supposed to be released as of this morning.
In the United States, the big questions being asked by the media, those that are covering this, is why you didn't allow them to check to see what this humanitarian aid was. And in Sharif Al-Qudus's interview with the Israeli deputy ambassador to the United Nations yesterday that we played, he said that they could go on these ships in international water, the ambassador said, because if there is a threat, they are able to do that, that it is legal.
Never even asked to board and check our ships. What they offered is for us to give them the cargo and that they would deliver it to Gaza. And the response to this is twofold. One, it's really disingenuous for them to say that because they know that the cargo that we were carrying is precisely the cargo that they have not allowed to Gaza for over 3 years, and yet they consist of only basic supplies that is desperately needed in Gaza, such as water filtration system, books for universities, paper for schools, reconstruction supplies, prefabricated homes. They don't let these items into Gaza or through what they call their humanitarian corridor. Israel's blockade on Gaza is so comprehensive and only meant to keep Palestinians basically on the verge of survival, or so that one cannot say there's actual starvation. But it is not a life. They have reduced Gaza to a situation where over 80% of the people are in need of humanitarian aid, and Israel trickles in this humanitarian aid. So we are not interested in perpetuating this cycle. We need to campaign for an end to the policy that leaves Palestinians in need of humanitarian aid, and therefore we not only need to just deliver the aid through negotiation with Israel. We need to end this policy so that Palestinians can have access to the outside world so that they can import and produce and export and build an economy and be able to lead a life with dignity instead of just living off of handouts. And so that's very important to recognize. So them taking the cargo and letting it in would not have worked for two reasons. One, they wouldn't have let this cargo in, and two, it's really about the policy that needs to be changed.
Was there discussion on the boat among the passengers about any kind of resistance to the commandos? Did you anticipate the commandos' reaction on board, their actions?
Well, we had agreed as a coalition. We had a few organizing meetings before we actually launched the flotilla. And as the organizing bodies, we had agreed that we would not resist with any kind of force. We would try to defend our boats as much as possible, mainly using our bodies. And we did agree that also using water hoses would be okay to try to keep them away. But that we would not, one, we would not have any kind of weapons on our boat, and two, that we would not use physical force to repel them. On our boat, it's exactly what we did. We tried to put our bodies in the way. We were beaten up for it, but we did not respond by physically assaulting the soldiers. I wasn't on the Marmara at the time of the attack, so I can't actually say what went down there, though I wouldn't be surprised if some people, didn't stick to the agreement amongst all of the coalition or the organizing members. I mean, you had a situation where a boat of 560 people, most people, we had given a training and orientation, but yet in the middle of the night you had commandos opening fire on your boat and descending on your boat from above. People might have felt like they had to fight back, but they fought back not really with the weapons or guns, because Israel had those, and they're the ones that launched the initial assault. So this attempt to vilify some people that might have picked up chairs or whatever to defend themselves, I think, is quite misplaced.
And what about the issue that apparently some of the folks also brought children with them, and the criticism that, again, that the Israeli government has launched of putting children in such a dangerous situation?
I spent a couple of days on the Mavi Marmara when our boat had a little bit of technical problems, and there were no children except for one. The first mate of the Marmara had brought his wife and young son on board, and they were basically the whole time in the captain's quarter. Generally, the crew, captain, first mate are allowed, under international law, to bring their families with them. Whether or not it was a wise decision, I don't feel like I can comment on. But aside from that family and that one child, there weren't other children on these boats.
And Huwaida, the image that is shown in the video of what is described as the commandos being attacked by men with bars or sticks, it's not clear.
Like I said, it's hard for me to comment because I wasn't on the boat when it happened. But two things that make me a little bit that calls this into question. One is that I saw how they treated us on our boat. We didn't have sticks or anything like that, and yet they were very violent, and they immediately went to remove any kind of recording equipment or that we had. So any of the footage that we took was all gone, and then they proceeded to make their own videos. So I would doubt the authenticity of it. But let's say we don't doubt the authenticity of it, and some people did use bars or whatever they had. Again, we have to go back to the fact that Israel launched the initial attack, and they started firing on the boats before the soldiers even descended onto the boats. And while we, had an agreement as a coalition that we would not fight back using any kind of physical resistance, sometimes you can't control how people react to violence, and it may have happened, but they're the people that did defend themselves in this way shouldn't be the ones that are vilified or condemned, because Israel knew that they were launching this heavy attack against unarmed boats and unarmed civilians. I don't know what they expect, that people would just welcome them onto the boats after they fired in this way and they were masked. They did not lift the mask off their face once. They were carrying M16s and other weapons. I don't know what they expected. So it's really Israel's policy that is to blame for the casualties that happened.
And finally, the ships that are moving forward now, with Dennis Halliday, the former Assistant UN Secretary General, who had been in charge in Iraq. He is on the ship, the Nobel laureate, Mairead Maguire. They are moving forward toward Gaza. What's the plan?
That is on the motor vessel Rachel Corrie, which was always designed to be a part of the flotilla. However, it had some mechanical problems in addition to another boat that was supposed to be part of the flotilla and had some mechanical problems. They were delayed. Unfortunately, at first we did not want to say we suspected sabotage, but we weren't saying anything, just trying to deal with the situation. Like 2 days ago, Israel actually bragged about the fact that they engaged in sabotaging our boats. But nevertheless, that's not going to hold them back. We were able to deal with it on the MV Rachel Corrie, and she has been sailing. She is in the Mediterranean now with the personalities that you mentioned on board. However, we, as an